Okay, so when you look at a leader, there's my package over there, so don't give anybody too much airtime.
Yeah.
But on the back, there's a table on the back of that packet's underneath the knot, and it has the diameter of the leader.
Yep.
At the butt end, and then there's one called the tippet.
Yeah. So with tippet, that's basically just to extend your leader. So you have a leader that's going to be tapered. You're probably not going to be able to see the taper very well, but it's going to taper down thinner, 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 and then this is where the X system comes in. This is exactly 6X, so it's going to be around 3.4 pounds. So eventually, after you tie flies on it all day long, clip it off, clip it off, clip it off, you're going to get to like thicker and thicker and thicker. And obviously that isn't going to be 6X. So to avoid this, or to, just to avoid it basically, just to lengthen up your leader, give your leader a little bit more life, you can add this stuff called tippet. If this is 6X, you'd at least want to put 6X on it. If not 7X, you can always go down. You're always trying to taper it thinner. This is 5X, so that was a bad example. It just happened to be what was on the table. So you're basically lengthening your leader and giving it extra life, so it doesn't get chewed up,
Okay, so my break weight is measured on what's at this end of the leader.
What's about right here.
Okay.
About a foot, 8 inches to a foot is going to be your X system, if you will.
Okay, most of these are pre-tied on one end. I have kind of not really the greatest eyesight, so I can tell it's tapered, sort of, but...
You'll usually feel it, too. You'll feel that all the way through, and it'll taper down. And at these ends, just get into that. At this end, it has a loop. All your pre-made leaders are going to have loops. So, I make my own. I don't necessarily use a loop because I'm a purist. You can hate me or love me, I don't care.
But that's okay. So we've sort of covered the rod. So now we've looked at mine as a 5.6. So I'm okay for a bass.
Yep, good enough for around here. If you want to throw bigger flies, you're gonna have to get a heavier rod.
So if I was going after, like, let's say northern, or even around here, the carp get
very
definitely
big. Carp get very big.
What do you carry when you're carrying something for the carp around here?
So you would be carrying everything from around here. I throw a 7-weight. It's light enough to be fun, but heavy enough to get that 15-pound carp in without snapping the rod.
Gotcha.
And a lot of that's just going to be coming with practice. When I first started carp fishing, I was throwing a 5-weight. Don't do it. You'll hate yourself. It's really hard to cast a shorter rod at carp that are huge. And even if you do hook up, that thing's going to be doubling down. You'll be there for 2 hours trying to get it in. So you have to match the rod to the species of fish. Big bass, I would actually encourage you to do an 8-weight. The heavier the rod will match. Well, let's see, how should I phrase this? If you're going after big fish, get a big rod. I mean, there's nothing really, don't overcomplicate it like I probably just did for you, but a lot of the time you can go to the local fly shop or just do some research online. There's great resources you can find just by going, looking up the simple term of, I'm going after bass on a fly rod, what weight should I get? Or something along the lines.
Okay, so in that way, it is like spin casters. Like, there is no one rod fits all your freshwater.
Yeah,
You're looking at, hey, I got to have my panfish rod or something.
You got to have everything.
Then I got to have a heavier weight.
Yeah.
Most likely, if I graduate into that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the line, we've talked a little bit about the line, but we've got two things. We've got the floater and the sinker, and then we have just the number of the line itself. And you know what like the larger the line, a number 8 line, that's going to be a heavy line.
Yep, heavier line, yeah.
Heavier line.
Definitely.
They don't measure anything in, like, pound?
Generally it's going to have around I'm going to say 35-pound braking strength, but you can put in the comments below if it's heavier or lighter. That's what I heard from somebody. But
Okay.
you don't, if I take this line and I put 50 pounds of weight on it, it's eventually going to stretch and stretch and stretch and snap.
Right. Okay.
So everything will break, but we don't worry about how heavy this is. We worry about our leader. Our leader will break way before the line will.
I think worry about the line of
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and since we're talking about line, I'll just show you a basic line. Some questions that are always asked is, what's the head? What's the running line? How do I know it's a head? How do I know it's a running line?
Right.
And then what the heck is backing? So this is just a general reel. It's my carp reel. We'll go from leader to line. So I just got my carp leader on there, which is just happens to be 20 pound, 3 feet of 20 pound, and 3 feet of 10 pounds. Then you get into the head of the line. So this is what you're casting. You're casting that fatter part of the line.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's gonna be thicker until you get to, the higher quality lines like Rio and a Scientific Angler will have different color heads versus running lines. Other companies do that too, mainly just so people can go, okay, I know it's a head, it's taken line or what have you, and this is a long head. Sorry, 30 feet ahead. That's generally what your head will be, is around 30 feet.
Leader then head.
Yep, so it'll be
Okay.
leader, head, and then you get into what's called your running line, or I've heard it called just the back end of the line too. And this is thinner. You don't, if you get into this and you're trying to cast this, while this is out, it'll create a hinge point. So you're casting here, your line's going out, you hit a thinner diameter, it's going to start flopping. So if you ever get line pile up, that's probably what you're doing. You're not stripping in until you get to the head. You're trying to cast with too much line out. I see a lot of people do that. I'm not going to strip all 90 feet of this line off, just show you the backing, but the backing's that blue and orange. I'm not sure if you can see that. But that's just extra line, especially for carp fishermen. These carp will run you into your backing. So if you ever hear people talking about backing, or, man, that fish was going fast, it got me all the way to the backing.
I think you're.
Yeah, I probably got. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll fix it later. So backing is just basically your safety net. So if you get a big fish on and it takes all 90 feet of your line, you don't want to just stop there. You want to have something extra, because that would not be good if you lost a fish just because you didn't have a little extra line on there. So that's backing. Let's see.
So what's your normal length on the head that you're putting on here?
On just general heads, it'll be 30 feet. Again, I'm not sponsored by Rio, it just happens to be this is what I got. So you can see this green portion, that's your head, and then it runs into the yellow. All your fly lines, all the boxes will have a chart on the back, and it'll say, this one is 43 feet of straight running line, 12 feet of back taper, 7 feet of mid taper, and then you get into 23 plus 5.5-ish. So the head length on this one is 47 feet. 30 is general. I think that one's probably 47 now that I'm looking at it, because that's a Rio Gold. But, everywhere from 30 to 45 feet is going to be your head length.
Okay, because they talk about, what if I have to do a 50-foot cast or a 60-foot cast? I can't even imagine why I would need that here in the Midwest. But, once you get into the ocean, I hear that's, standard cast.
60, 70, 80 foot, yeah. So, yeah, we won't get into casting too much. We'll do another video on that. But basically, when you're casting your line, make sure when you first pull up for your first cast, make sure your head is touching the very front of the eyelet, your very front eyelet, or your tip top. If not, you're going to get a thinner line versus a thicker line. You're going to have that hinge point, and it's going to flop. It's going to be really tough to pick it up and get a good loop in there, and you'll get hinges and floppiness. Good English. Wow, this is what the education system's teaching us kids these days.
Okay, so now we know we're going after bass. We've talked about the size of rod that we need, the weight is going to match the rod that we need
Mm-hmm.
to actually do this
Yeah.
correctly, not vice versa. Oh, there is one thing I wanted to ask you on the leader. You said you custom tie yours.
Yep.
And there's 10 pound, 20 pound.
Mm-hmm.
Is this
So
kind of tapered down, so you
Yeah.
start at the 20?
you're starting at the 20 and you'll go down to the 10 for my carp leader. My bass leader is going to be 3 foot of 40 pound, 3 foot of 20 pound, and 2.5 foot of 10 pound to 12 pound.
Okay.
And when you're tying your own leaders, you're just going to find things that are going to work for you. It could be that you just take the back end of a tapered leader, cut the taper, the thinner part of the line off, use the butt section, and then just tie on some tippet. That might work for you. I know people that just do 12 to 10 pound for their bass leader. I think that's really light, but basically as long as it's tapering. So start thicker, get thinner. It's pretty general, and you're going to find lengths that you like. I just like that 6 foot to 7.5 foot length for my bass and carp leaders.
Yeah, I know. And the reason I ask that is when we do, I do some back-based saltwater, and depending on the fish that's biting, we actually run the leaders sometimes backwards because we want to get a good cast out with lighter line. But then if he's got teeth on the other side, we want to have maybe a 30 pound leader on the, on the far end of maybe 8 foot of that or 6 foot of that.
Just to stay on freshwater, muskie, we do the same thing. We'll take, my muskie leader is 40 pound, about 3 foot of 40 pound, about 4 foot of 20 pound. So that's what, 4 plus 3 is 8 feet, or 7 feet, sorry. 7 feet, and then about foot and a half of like 30 pound bite wire, or 30 pound I do bite wire. I've heard of people doing 100 pound fluorocarbon, just a little chunk of that, just to keep them from biting the tippet.
Right. So you do have the same principle, just
Yeah.
different fish.
Just different fish. When you're getting those 12-inch flies, a tapered leader isn't going to do much. Your loops aren't going to be, pencil thin. You can get them pretty thin, but it takes practice. So when you're throwing big flies, sometimes you got to break the rules. So we just basically make rules to break them. Is really all we got to keep in mind sometimes.
Okay, so how about another question?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take a short break after this one and then get into doing some knots.
Cool.
Or at least looking at knots.
Yeah, definitely.
There's this little thing that drives me nuts. The click.
Click.
What is the click for? I mean, I'm
So-
used to having a tension thing or something like that. It keeps it from going backwards on the spin caster rods.
Yeah.
This click doesn't seem to have any purpose to me that I can tell.
Yeah, so the click,
Obviously it does. But
surprising enough, you can take the click off. I'm undoing knots while I'm talking, that's okay.
Yeah. Such as mine has an on-off on it.
Yeah, yours will click and non-click. This one is, I don't think this clicks, does
It's
it?
on the backside.
Oh, okay, cool. So his clicks, you can take it off. This one clicks. I can clip the little piece of plastic that makes it click. Basically, this is kind of my theory behind the click, and I'm probably wrong. Someone's gonna correct me here, but I just think it's a noisemaker because we got this drag system back here. You can turn this knob on and off, and it's gonna, strengthen and the tighter you pull it, the harder it's gonna be able to. The harder the fish is gonna have to pull to take it. Some people really like the click, some people don't. I don't mind it. You don't hear it very often. Once you're out there fishing, it doesn't bother you. So
Is that because yours is a heavier?
No.
I mean, mine doesn't have a. Well, the reason I'm saying that is because mine doesn't have a drag system.
Yeah. So certain lines, reels will. It's like different cars. Some cars will have electric start. Some cars will just have a key.
Right.
These two reels are different. It doesn't matter on size. It doesn't matter on weight. I can get a reel that's a hatch or something that has no click, and then I can get the same weight, same size, and it'll have a click. Manufacturers will do that. I don't know why. I think it's just a noisemaker. If you want it off, just talk to a local fly shop and they can clip it. But once it's gone, it's gone. So just stick with it. Usually is what you'll do. It can be annoying, but it's really cool when you get a 10, 20 pound carp on and it's going zzz, you know, you hear it, you know, that way you're not, oh, okay, great. I don't know. That's kind of I've never been asked that question, so I didn't know how to approach that, but I just think it's a noisemaker. You don't necessarily need it. You don't necessarily have to have it. It's not going to kill you if you take it off. But yeah, it's just kind of one of those things.
Well, the only time I've used a mechanism like that is if I'm bait fishing and I want to walk away from the bait for a little bit, and I can hear a little click once in a while.
Click, yeah.
But
so,
I never pictured that with fly fishing with fly rod or anything.
Yeah.
Like that.
So we'll get into part 2 here in just a little bit.